Well, last week I did get the inside lining of this front driver's boot glued together, floated out, and in the meantime I did get it assembled to the framework, and I have it mounted up to the hinge work on the front of this coach body as well. Now the whole purpose of this hinge is to be able to adjust this driver's footboard for different lengths of legs for different drivers. I've got some chain coming that I'll put in from this top hook to these D-rings. There was no indication of just how this chain would have been fastened, possibly to this framework. I don't really know. This is a 1/4-inch D-ring, and the working load limit on these are rated at 500 pounds. So on these type of coaches, there are actually two boots. The front driver's boot, and then there should be a luggage boot platform that hangs off of the back end of this coach to where the suitcases or trunks or whatever the passengers may have been transporting with them would be carried. In this case, the side irons that support the luggage boot will have a cross rod through here that will contain the cover that would keep the dust off of the suitcases or whatever they would have. Well, this rear luggage boot is also hinged, but everything was missing. I do have one clevis that was on this left side iron that was original. I do need to duplicate that for the right side, but for right now I need to duplicate the hinge work for the rear luggage boot that should be similar to the front driver's boot. So many of these front driver's boots would have a framework of 3, a center rib right down the middle here. This case, there was 4. So to accommodate the 4 framework, we have to have 4 sets of hinges as well. Well, these are the hinges that come up to the boot, and these were the hinges that go back to the framework of the body. Now these are 1 inch wide by 1/4 inch, and these are rolled and then forge welded to complete the roll. This is a 7/16 round rod, very common in most hinge work on carriages. So it goes to the frame and goes to the boot. In this case, are both 1 inch. But however, the sides have this external hinge that is 1.25 inches. The outside hinge here is 1 inch, but this one evidently to carry the weight, maybe, I'm not sure, but this one is 1.25 inches. So I'll do the same on the rear luggage boot as it is on the front driver's boot. So these hinges have kind of a long drawn out taper that goes to the boot, but the hinges underneath are a little more abrupt. This is more common to the rest of the whole style of coach. I'll put this style of end on these hinges, I'm thinking. We see the same forge weld here, and then the same taper on this 1.25 inch outside hinge piece. Well, these heavier outside hinges I did drill to accommodate this outside bolt. I'm going to replace this carriage bolt with a square headed bolt. I think I'll put the square head here, drive the bolt down, and then this hinge is going to mount up to that bolt, and then the second bolt will be mounted back inside on that framework. So it should set about like so. Then I'll have to figure out the spacings, but these 1-inch hinges will go inside somewhere in this area. And the other 4 hinges that will go to the platform of the boot itself will sit outside of these other hinges. Outside, 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 outside. That'll keep this whole boot from shifting side to side. And then I have a 7/16 rod that will go through and be the hinge rod for this whole hinge assembly. Well, these 2 center hinges here end up measuring out on the front boot 10 inches outside. So that's where I put these 2 center ones on the rear. And then our hinge is going to go right through the center. About so. And our other 2 hinges will go outside like so. Well, looks like 39, 38 might be a little tight. 39 could be a 40-inch, maybe a 40-inch platform. I'm gonna do kind of a quick cobble job here. Maybe kind of get an idea of how long this should be. Maybe about like so. Looks like about 24 inches deep would be about right to the bolts. I think I'll make it 26. So 39 or 40 by 26 should be the platform of the luggage boot. Kind of guessing. So I milled out a piece of ash to 1.5 inches, and I have 4.5 inches wide, 4 3/8. And if I put a 1/2 inch deck on it, it'll come up flush with the bed of the coach body itself. Now, double checking my 39 or 40 inches, I could have difficulty getting to the head, which is just a nut threaded on for this hinge rod. So I'm thinking maybe in this area a little bit of an overhang. Well, on the other end, if I do kind of the same, this is where that nut's going to be. So I may not want this 40 inches. Maybe a 39 is going to be closer to what I want. Right now I have 40, but maybe that 39 is going to be a better option. I might trim that back to 39 so I can still get in and access this nut. So I should be able to now kind of mock this up, kind of about in that area there. Let's kind of clamp it into place here. This is going to allow me to hinge like so. And it'll actually allow this rear boot to be a little elevated, a little higher in the back, which will kind of help the luggage to stay crowded a little forward and not be so much of a tendency to slide off the back. So I think that's pretty workable. So I'll go ahead and frame this out to 26 inches deep. I think I'll do 3 framings. And this will all get decked with a 1/2 inch poplar deck. And this will be where the luggage will ride. So a lot of this is just pure imagination because there was nothing here. These irons on the side that hold the chains, those give us some indication of how long this boot might have been. But this is kind of a pretty common style, just a platform, and it'll probably have canvas sides and cover where a lot of your higher class vehicles would have had leather. Speculation, but I think that's where we're going to go. I got to talk to the owner yet about some of these final things. But I'll go ahead and frame this out, and maybe we can get this attached, make a clevis, and hang some chains next week. Appreciate you following along. Thanks for watching.